This was a long hill to hike up. What I want to show you is how we just mud jacked the front of this garage, and sometimes during mud jacking the slabs you work on crack and you can never exactly tell why. Some of these little cracks like this can turn into bigger cracks like that. That was actually there before. You can see the age of the crack with all the darkness in it. But I want to show you this here. The homeowner asked us to fill this in, and below this concrete, only about an inch and a quarter max, was a grade stake for a 2x4. So the wood swelled and rotted and allowed a lot of water to sit here and pop up and took this big piece of concrete with it. Now if this grade stake was up in the middle and you start mud jacking with pressure, that could definitely be the opening to a crack. Almost looks like another one starting right here, because that's how the other one looked. Yeah, 621 Sweetbriar Lane, Watertown. It's a job from 2014 we did. We did this group of sidewalk slabs for the future sidewalk right where Garrett's standing now. And we got these calls right where he's standing. He's about to start punching the holes. From here you can hardly even see the dip. We got the calls last year like, oh, after you guys left it sunk down, and got calls this spring in 15, oh, it sunk down right away. This is what we're talking about here. As you get closer, it's hard to even tell. That is what we're talking about, sunk down. Like the camera can't get any more level on the slab. We're talking less than a quarter inch. This whole area was sunk like cavernous before. Some people never appreciate anything. I got my shoes off because they're all full of bentonite, and I'm gonna talk quiet back here. At first, it's frustrating. That is not us. It's frustrating, I've said this before, when mud jacking between 2 points that are not moving. You can't just have the contract all beautiful and clean like everything's gonna go up perfect, because when you're matching back there to that point, the pool concrete's not moving, and then you come up these slabs to the driveway's not moving. In this case, there should have been an asphalt infrared bid here because that gutter sunk everything. But we've got to try to match 1, 2, and 3 slabs to then at that point that joint right there was not moving. But we had to add that slab because it was sunk incorrectly. That last slab should have been part of the quote. I'm gonna put my shoes on here and walk over there. That last slab should have been part of the quote. It was not. We had to add that. And the quote shows no little bumps or hazards here. This is now a good 1.5 inch step height difference. This whole corner is clearly sunk. You can't match a sunken corner. You can see it on the wall where it should have been. You can't match this to that and this to that when that's sunk. Something's got to give, and it's always going to be the sunken end, or in this case, I just added that slab because it's quicker, faster, better to have a satisfied customer and job completion than not. So one more time, video on site about 2 points of contact versus 1. If that pool wasn't there and this was sunk and all we had to do was keep this to match and just run this up to that stoop, that'd be easy. Kind of got to do that. Start here, run up to the stoop, but then we also got to have that same continuity flow down. So, yep, got to watch that stuff. Or what should have been happen here is either a cut and fill or 2 heats or whatever. This was real thick sealer, so entertain the idea of cut and fill just because it would be so nasty of smoke. Like, this stuff is thick sealer. This is what happens when you leave your driveway pitched towards the garage foundation too long. The blocks fill with water, and due to the frost, the blocks blow apart. This whole stretch, there's 2.5 good solid blocks there. All the rest of these have blown apart. This homeowner was literally driving over a trench, waiting to fall in. We just cut this asphalt back. Now we're going to fill this in with We did not pull one single chunk of block out of there. It's all down inside there and gone. The pieces just explode across and fall down the hole. And then I just want to show you this asphalt too. This stuff's so oxidized. You can almost, I just crushed that piece. Crushed asphalt like a piece of charcoal. That's unbelievable. Mud Tech on site. Cart conveniently just ran out of gas for me there. I want to show, this is going to be part of the video series about pinning or rebarring large slabs or where concrete driveways meet. These are all asphalt, where concrete driveways meet the garage floor itself. Here is an example of what the rebar has helped do. That's the rebar right there. Come on, phone. Right here. There's 4 of them in this big slab. It was drilled in, pinned in place when this section of concrete, I can get the measurements and I could throw the weight up later, but that's probably around 3,000 pounds of concrete that those little rebar pins are supposed to hold up. They don't do anything to keep this slab up. A lot of times they actually make it worse, because when the slab starts pushing down, the rebar is usually too close to the slab surface. It actually usually makes big craters where it pops free as the slab is traveling down. So to do this right, no rebar, allow your base material to settle around the foundation, pour your concrete then or later, and allow it to be lifted back up with the process of mud jacking if it does sink. Further evidence of why you should not pin concrete to the footing. Homeowner showed us the original contract from the masons who installed this patio, and it shows the pins going into the foundation wall, which is a poured wall, basement wall, and it has this styrofoam which was then smeared with cement over the top of the styrofoam. The patio stayed up where it was originally poured. In this case, maybe less sinking or settlement beyond this part, but even so, it's so hollow, you can hear it when you stomp on it, like that. You can hear how hollow this is. There's a big space now underneath the concrete, which in most cases you'd develop a crack all the way across from left to right, especially if there was a thinner mix or didn't have rebar. And in this case, chipmunks and even a skunk have been trying to burrow under this patio because of the space it gives animals a natural home. Mice, rats, chipmunks, whatever, it doesn't matter. You don't need them up under your patio invading your home's area. So another example of why pinning does not make sense, because some might say, well, then you got to mud jack it up later and cause the little holes in the top. Well, in this case, the ground sunk below it, the concrete stayed where it was originally poured, but we still have the holes in place because that's still the best way to get the grout below the slab and fill that void in with our cement sand ratio mix to keep the animals from burrowing under the patio any further. Yeah, this is OSHA safe. Down the highway, truck, trailer, 4 guys on the bag. Mud Tech here on location. raising this section of sidewalk here. We just did the garage. You can see how sunk that was here. It goes from 1 inch to about 4.5, and that same height carried all the way across the front of the porch. You can see the nails here where that expansion joint was. You can actually see a little bit of the original pour. That same height carried all the way across. It's going to transfer that this sidewalk's about 6 inches down. We're raising it up here by mud jacking. I'll get some after shots when we're done, but then the homeowner will be able to walk right up the driveway and then have an 8-inch step or less going into the house. Mudtech.com. 499 Lake Bluff before even one true hole is started. The slabs push down the drainage, and now the gutter or the downspout rather, is separated from the drainage prior to us doing anything. All right, fire it up. Mudtech, first job of the day, Madison, Wisconsin. Someone spent a lot of money drilling out the base of this cell phone tower for a modification. And they used a core drill to drill out these concrete pieces between the other bolt holes to support more weight on the tower. And whatever they were trying to achieve didn't happen, so Mudtech was called in to fill the holes back up with our pump. These threaded bar rods were going to go in there, but they decided to abandon the project, and now we're going to fill the holes with a mix designed for this capacity. At this customer's house, lifting the back patio, you'll see in a second the patio has sunken below the height of the garage floor, and there's a man-size man door walking outside that is lower than the height of the floor. I just want to get a quick shot of this. Can I still close this or not? Okay. Door has to come off in this case because the patio needs to come up all along the house here. And as you can see now, the door is completely tight to the bottom of the patio. Okay, open it up. And the patio needs to be probably as level or more with the garage floor to make this patio flow out. Now, I'm going to walk away here because the customer was told that we are going to cut the damn door and make that somehow fit. The only thing we'll ever cut is the brick molding, the edges, the door trim that come down a lot of times longer than the door itself. We're not cutting doors. That needs to be in the contract and worded better. Here's why you do not use rebar in a driveway which is sitting on top of what the frost can move, because it's on top of just the regular yard and subsoils versus the garage floor, which is on a frost wall or footing. The pin between the two has still bent down. You still have settlement in the driveway. There's another one right there. You can see how the pin's still bent down. You didn't prevent anything by having that little 1 inch or half-inch piece of rebar in there. And you actually caused all this damage in the process because as the stress of it going down, the concrete wasn't able to hold back that half-inch shape of damage. There's another one here where the pin isn't even in the hole anymore on the driveway side. It completely pulled out and just bent down somewhat like an S. There's another one right there. So there's at least 2 or 3 pins per side, and as you can see, it didn't prevent anything from settling. The driveway is still settled in front, most likely from its own weight on top of the subsoils that were dug out or excavated for the foundation, and still settled. That's why it's best to just let the slab settle and then raise it up if it does sink, or do your best to compact it and you might not have any settlement later on. All right, guys, I mean, come on. These 4 slabs are sunk down. You can see in the corner there. We've got a gutter that is buried under the slabs. We have the house's main electric supply. We have the gas meter. We've got nothing on the contract. 2 gutters. 2 gutters. We've got nothing on the contract suggesting who's liable for anything that could have a problem with this lift. This needs to be on the contract. This one's the worst I've ever seen as far as all this stuff on one job. Okay, MudTech on location. We just took care of that driveway over there and this one about 2 hours ago. Now we're working on this one. What I want to show you here is the side effects of when you grind something versus replacement or raise the same slab of concrete that's giving you problems. This entire joint, the high side was ground to somewhat match the low side. Clearly these pieces have sunk here, so in an effort to reduce trip hazards or the drive height angle so you don't have as big a bump, someone ground this at about a 45, which is pretty normal. But as we always stress and advise, grinding should be a last resort item, because now the homeowner, this other work was done by a previous homeowner. This homeowner now wants to take care of all the settling that is giving the problem, creating the problem in the first place. And now because the joints have previously been ground, we can't raise the sunken concrete as nice and close back to as where it could and should be as if it wasn't ground, because now you've got this high side that's still a sharp 90 that's got to meet up next to this beveled 45. So what you get is this odd V shape that's now going to have to be filled in with a caulk or maybe a patching cement and then cut through the joint with a saw. But either way, it's never a good idea to grind if you know you're going to do other repairs later. In the matter of cost or a matter of time frame, if that's all you can do, that's all you can do. But if you know you're going to do other type of work, make sure you at least look at your other options first before grinding, because once concrete is ground, it's ground forever. It doesn't go back the other way. Okay, MudTech estimator training video number doesn't matter. All right, 2 things on this project. Looks like a simple driveway extension into the corner of the house. That was probably a porch at one time, and they just added onto the driveway. And I don't know, who knows? Was there a stoop there? Don't know, don't care. But the driveway settled, this flatter area, and somebody came along and poured this 4-inch thick slab on top of the driveway. So now we drill holes all the way through trying to get to the bottom, but on this end it's just lifting up. So we're going to Menards to get a long injection pipe, a long 18-inch pipe nipple, to try to push this little short stubby tip, which usually is all or more than adequate, to try to push that all the way down and through to get below the bottom slab so we can lift the bottom slab, not start separating the two like a sandwich. Number 2 problem on this particular job, there is that electrical from the power pole, the electrical input right here in the corner that goes through most likely both slabs. Nothing was said in the contract in this, so it's like, what the fuck? You want us to be pumping wet liquid slurry next to live power line, zero protection power to lift this back up. And we did. We just lifted this back up. And as we're doing so, this fitting got tighter because this was actually separated. This fitting, I wish I had a before picture. This fitting was actually, this whole pipe was slid down. And as we're doing this, first time I've seen this happen, we were actually ramming that whole pole up through the roof. The wires were going up that pole. So now looking on the roof, there's like a little rubber mushroom cap thing that probably protects that hole from water. So now, is that adequately sealed? Don't know. Contract doesn't say. I probably would have said just in the nature of this job, we're gonna get it somewhat, but in the nature of this job, I probably would have said nope. Got to rip it out and redo it. This just is not worth mud jacking with the potential electrical hazards and further problems. It's just not cool. Another quick video example of micro fine cracks. This one's gonna be hard to see even on camera. It's right here. I can't even see it through the lens. There we go. Micro fine cracks. Looks kind of obvious right now, and then I'll back up. This is where the driveway meets the garage floor. Before we've done any work here, I'm finding the cracks from the vibration of the drill. It sheds the dust differently. You can see this one here as well. You get real close. It's really hard to see this on camera. Right there. That's the crack. When you back up, you can see that faint little line. Before we've done one single pump here, we just did the drilling. The vibration of the drill, it vibrates the dust a certain way, and it reveals the hairline cracks that a lot of people don't see in their slabs prior to it being worked on. Michelle, walk this way. One more job with a super small crack that's hard to even distinguish before you really get in and look at the surface. We have not done anything to this customer's property yet as far as lifting, and I'm just finding the little hairline fractures in the concrete that are pre-existing that a lot of people don't notice before work comes and takes place, and then when mud jacking happens, a lot of times the pressures from underneath the mud jacking itself can actually make the crack a little bit bigger. Generally, these slabs have metal reinforcement in the slabs, so it's not the slab itself is not compromised when it cracks. It's just another crack in the slab, because all slabs are cracked in joints. And a lot of the same slabs also crack in other areas diagonally, like this one has here. It does not mean that this slab is now compromised and can't be used. It just has another flexible position to it. All right, estimator training video number whatever. Back patio sinking towards basement. First things first, customer wants this area lifted up. You have to give them the options to do that. But you notice the concrete color is much different on the stoop. Just a little bit closer inspection, you can see it wouldn't make sense if that was poured, or if the stoop was poured around, or the patio was poured around the stoop. You can see this stoop is actually poured on top of the patio. So upon a little bit closer inspection, you can even see the wedge shape where it's thinner and then gets thicker. And now we know that because of that, it was poured to be level on the top and get rid of the wedge, because this is 7.5 and the back side is 8.5. And now you look on the side, this side you can see too, but this is even easier here. You can see the concrete on the wall right there. So if you look how high the patio used to be, the patio used to be 3¼ inches higher than where it is now. So you come here to the top of the stoop that you don't have room for, and look at where 3¼ inches comes to. You don't have room in the siding to do that. Now this contract says cut siding with orbital cutter. And then what? Fit the J channel back into it? Is MudTech now a siding company? Have that removed before the work gets done. is the Scott Slattery job. Just before we go any further, just making note, don't need water on the phone, making note of the cracks. Prior to lifting, there's a few hairline little cracks here on the patio too. Get a shot of that. It's always easiest to see in the drill dust here. Cracked along the side of the step, clearly an older crack. There could easily be more in here. Usually they develop deeper when it's, what's that? Yeah, I think this one is too. Usually it develops deeper when it's being lifted with the pressure. Yeah, here's one there. We're at the home of David Pagum on Glenmoor Court. Just want to show cracks. Before we've done anything in this area, the holes aren't even drilled yet. A lot of little damage, but wherever there's, yep, wherever there's one or two little hairline cracks, there's more. Sometimes they open up when we start pumping underneath because they're stressed. All right, mud jacking training video. What we can and can't do. We can do practically anything involving a flat slab, as we just raised all this. We could even do that column right there. We could mud jack that if we had to. And you know we can do garages. We've done around culvert areas. That's not a culvert, but it looks like one. But where the concrete meets the asphalt there, this job was bid to have this concrete lifted to match the asphalt. But what would happen here is, being that this side, the asphalt is about 2 inches higher than the concrete, and then it tapers in the middle, there would be no way we can raise the concrete evenly, because it's going to come up just as straight as it's poured right now. And so it's either going to be higher than the asphalt in the middle or still sunk on the edges. So it was bid on the contract, and we're opting not to do it because it doesn't make much sense to do something when you can't make it any better, or really you'd be sort of making it worse. So in this case, if he's having, looks like he's having water pooling here by the dirt stains, he should dig the soil out and get it to start flowing in the natural ditch instead of trying to raise up the concrete. Next step would be dig the soil out. We are at 3130 South Pine Avenue doing some mud jacking and concrete lifting work. I'm going to show you what we've got started here. This last slab and some of these pieces of walkway, these three, I added this one for free. These are contracted to be lifted. It shows the arrows going out on the job sheet. Now, what somebody else did here is they poured this newer concrete to match this sunken area. We see this all the time. When they troweled this area out, you can see the dip in there. It's not straight. They put this little, you can see the V shape here. They put this little swale in the concrete. So this little area is having a hard time flowing out. I'm gonna tip these sidewalk slabs to match it, and we're gonna grind that bump over there. Now on the contract it says to cut the siding, but this is not the type of siding you want to cut. This is that thin metal stuff. It's not going to look good. It has that fiber backer board stuff under it. So I just lifted it right now about at its max point, 3/4 of an inch, tapering down to probably 1/4 inch in the back. That's going to give us our height to tip these slabs back. I did not need to cut the siding, and in this case it's better. What it was doing is just pushing the siding up higher into the wall, so it'll have its original appearance, but it will still flow more water out than it did before by the 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch here of higher lift that it now has. So it's about as good as I'm going to be able to probably get it. We'll get a little further and go from there, but that's what happens when you have new concrete match old concrete. You can't come along later and just start lifting on stuff and expect it to tip and twist and turn back in exactly the right position. Just making quick video for how severely sunk this garage, especially by the door, is. Lining up this way on this side by the tire. It's about a 4-inch drop from the center. And this probably went down 1 inch. We are digging back and excavating out in front of this garage where the asphalt had sunk in front of the garage floor. This side was starting to be patched by a different company, and they discovered through this hole here that the frost wall had blown out, and that's partially from freezing and thawing when the cement blocks fill up completely with water and some deterioration from salt, because the cement blocks get really soft once they get overloaded with salt. As you can see, I can move the cement block. That cement block in my hand I can just dig away at. That cement block right there. So we come in and fill this with a Portland cement slurry so that the garage floor is resting once again on a solid footing. Just taking a video of this to show how we're not even up to this metal yet, the concrete, during the concrete lifting, and it's already bent and damaged all the way up this thing. So I'm not taking the blame here for this since it's previous damage. Also, before one pump has even been put into this slab in this area, there is a pre-existing crack, an old pre-existing crack, all the way across this little slab of the driveway in front of the garage door where the sidewalk meets. That's probably going to open up bigger as we lift this up, and then we have to grind the edge anyway because this sidewalk's not being lifted to match the driveway. We're going to grind the driveway to make it match. It's a quick video on 2410 Emsley Court. The fascia stone is completely broken off. This is completely loose before we do any work, and it looks like at one time somebody must have extended this brick molding here, which that's got to come out for the sidewalk, or the driveway I mean, to get back up to the height of the garage floor. So we'll set this stuff to the side for now and get this concrete raised up. Looks like there's also some damage on this side. Yes, stonework is definitely loose. Not as bad, but definitely loose. The other quick mention at 2410 is this little piece of concrete here. It has a pre-existing crack. By far the worst patching job we've ever seen on the difference between the slabs when they settle. Somebody tries to get some various types of mortar cements, and they brush this, it looks like a steel broom, after they humped it up like speed bumps. Now that we're mud jacking it, it's all coming apart. I must admit this one caught me off guard too, but in the process of raising this to meet our contract's requirements, which is to have this flow out to the yard, I started to look around and realize if this is a ramp on the back side of this apartment building, probably for handicapped people in wheelchairs. Why would they have this 10-inch step height here? We all know most steps can only be 8-inch max. So I started to look around here, and this thing is not designed to have a step. At one time, this was right there, which is about, right here is about 9 inches settlement. And as you go up the line, you can see where the old concrete was, all the way up here, especially right here. You can see the line, about 10 inches of settlement. And even over here on the railing side, the railing has sunk, so they cut it off and they got a welder in here and they put a new piece on. But this used to be more like a porch. It actually used to fully cover that window. Not even sure why that was there. Obviously it would have been covered by concrete. And this thing settled that much over time that now they've given up on it being a ramp, and we just have to make the water flow out to the side or towards the yard and increase the height of the ramp in the right directions to get ourselves an 8-inch step height from ramp to stoop. And they're going to leave it like that. It is an option you can do with mud jacking. But you got to know where it was originally. This is the kind of crazy stuff we get into here. Never know what you're going to find or what somebody doesn't tell you. Okay, quick video of the Zunke project, North 5020 Eastview Drive, Sussex. This little section of concrete is definitely freestanding by itself, and it's got by far the most settlement just due to, well, like laws of physics. But as any little spur of any type would have, it's gonna have more stress where it bottlenecks to the rest of the concrete, and there's actually already a crack here developed. As concrete sinks and settles, it never goes evenly. Take a couple pictures here. I'll do this. Okay. Why? What? Well, that's even better to be on fucking video. Are you fucking kidding me?
Sam?
Oh my fucking god, I'm gonna kill someone.
No, get those and... Oh, you got some?
Yeah, I got soap. All right, I don't think you need much more testimonial for Flexzilla hose than this. That's our property up there. We're running the hose up to that property to get the water, just the city water pressure or township water pressure, whatever. We're running it through the ditch here to the freeway, and we've got our work trucks stationed up on the off-ramp. Oh, probably about a quarter mile up. The hose running the whole way, all the way up there. We're going to provide ourselves with water from our own place to get this done. And we don't have to check for kinks because it's Flexzilla. So I'll get the exact lineal footage of hose here, but I'm going to go with a quarter mile for right now. Maybe a little over, maybe 3/8 of a mile from the house up there, through the fence and all the way up the ditch, up to the trucks by the overpass. Yeah. Wouldn't trust any other hose for this. Mud jacking training video. Here's one with 2 features I gotta point out. Of course the wind picks up right now, so I hope you can hear this good. These 2 slabs touching the garage floor and one back, and touching and one back, total of 4. Obviously they're sunk. You can see the line somebody decided to caulk. Caulking does not save the slab from sinking, as a lot of people think it's all water related. It's still settling under there without water, just from vibrations and things like that driving across it. So what am I pointing out here? What I need to show you is how the middle is not sunk as much as the sides. As they go down to the sides, it progressively sinks more. It's about 1.5 inches here in the middle, from the driveway to the top of the garage floor, and then it's about 2 1/4, 2 1/2 over here on the side. Well, big deal, right? Wrong, because what happens is the whole driveway is kind of pitched like a tent, or like a roof, you could picture. Like, I'll even walk over here to this side of the roof for an example. The whole driveway is essentially doing that, just not as severe, right down the middle. A left way and a right way, just like that roof. So now I get the contract that says make it level with the straight garage floor. I'm supposed to make a peaked roof match a straight garage floor. I can't do that because the straight lines still axle completely straight as it comes up. So what happens? Start lifting on either that hole or that hole. You can see they're already drilled. It doesn't matter. If I lift that hole or I lift that hole, it's still gonna pivot and axle off this straight joint and come up. What happens is that corner in both slabs will come up first and this one won't. Well, so what, right? Except that when this one doesn't come up to original, you still have a bump right here. So a lot of times what I have to do is I have to come back. Several other slabs, I've had jobs where I have to come all the way back to the freaking road and try to get that peak out. You can see it's shedding this way, at least to slab number 3, because you can see how this is popped up. Remember, slabs sink and something's gonna react in the other end, just like a teeter-totter, like an X. That side's going down, this side's going up, just like that. Up and down, like an X. You can even see it over here where it's a little bit sunk in the corner. That's that missing grade that transfers all the way up there. That's it missing. Now, object number 2, whether we can or we can't get it all the way up to the garage floor with the peaking scenario in the middle, let's just say we can. Let's just, for this video, say we're gonna take this slab, we're gonna move it all the way up here 2 1/4, 2 1/2 inches. Well, what does it say about the asphalt difference when the concrete goes higher than it on the contract? Nothing. This concrete is minimum now going to be pitching back from this joint up to the garage. It's right now fairly flush with the asphalt. It starts to sink a little bit back here, but not bad at all. When we pop it up 2 1/4 to 2.5 inches, what do you think is going to happen? And not a word of that is said on the contract. So now what? We send Steve in with the infrared truck. We tell the customer to just chew on it, deal with it. Because now we got 2 things for him to not be happy about. Number 1, it's not going to be level with the floor. Number 2, it's going to make a bump on his asphalt. So, not cool. Not cool at all. This is a big miss. And really what it is telling the customer what he or she is going to get and or not get, and or not explain to them what they are going to get or not get. It's all in how it's contracted first that starts the process for how and what level of satisfaction they are when we're done. If the contract tells them what they're going to expect, that's what they're going to expect at the end, and they're going to be happy with it. Same thing on this side. When we pop that up 2 inches, there's nothing in the contract that says this won't be level now. Not one word. So, but if the contract and the homeowner would have been told, hey, see me a bump there, and it's not going to be perfectly level in the 2 corners, but it'll be flush most of the way across, then they'd be happy. Just about ready to pump here. We got the holes drilled, making a quick video to note the cracks. Pre-existing in the sunken concrete, this crack, and this was also a trip hazard prior to us doing anything. Of course, the big crack, this hole is extremely hollow, probably a good 4 inches down below. And then, well, those cracks too. Just noting how the job sheet is laid out. Homeowner only requests these 2 slabs to be done to improve pitch, and in my estimation, you're doing all of that and you're doing all of this. It's only a little bit more to do this, and we can make the whole thing perfect. So I'm assuming this is kind of a quick and temporary type fix for cost effectiveness, or I'm not sure why else you'd omit this portion, but we'll do what we can do. And this threshold here under the door almost looks like it was put in after the fact. This looks like it was cemented in place at a later date, but I can't tell. We'll line everything up as good as we can. Alright, aftermath of the slabs being lifted. As I said, that side's still down. That side actually popped up, making it worse. This never came up out of the asphalt because the asphalt is pinching it so hard because the pavement is it's paved right up to the splatter on the concrete. That's still a trip hazard because this side is just mud and grass, easily comes up. The wrong side always pops up. This piece came up really good, nice, no problems on this one. And then around the side for both areas, this not level, not level, not level, not level, not cool. Needs to be ground on that other one. And same thing down here. The asphalt is paved right up to the concrete, and the concrete has a little hook underneath. So as you can see here, we're mud jacking this slab, and it's picking the asphalt up, and it actually lifted the asphalt up enough to do this. Now this is gonna push back down when vehicles start running over it, but I cannot lift a straight slab off one of those straight joints and expect it to line up on an angled joint. You can't make a straight line up with an angled. Not happening. So when you see one side's down and one side's level, you either have to look this way and see where that corresponding low spot is, let's just say right there, and then you have to go like this and pick up, let's just say it's that joint, you have to pick up all of them to get the low point out first. Then you can lift off of a straight line. We've been on this job for seriously 10 freaking minutes. Using the deck board itself, we're going up to about the height of the grade, down to what should be another high side of the grade. As you can see, the bubble is 3/4 flowing back towards the house. That's the height freaking difference from the hump in the yard back to the house. MudTech contract says to make the water flow out that way. Yet I've only been here 10 minutes and I can see original construction was probably built to have the water go down the freaking sidewalk to the driveway, which even has a swale in it. And what's this over here? What is this? What is this? Drainage? A ditch? A culvert to make the water go away? No, it can't be. Let's make the water magically fucking go over the hump here in the yard, because that's how we contract. We make magic happen. That truck right there, this pump, magic. It's not based on fact, it's magic. For training purposes only, not picking on any one person, everyone's done it, happening a little too frequently for my liking. You can't just add up the square footage of the patio and shoot them a number. You also have to use what we've always said is the bitch factors to determine your quote. Before Henry starts cutting here, hold on.
Oh well, tuna camion bits.
You got this metal fascia put under the door that's absolutely been done after this thing sunk, because right now it's at about an 8.5, 9-inch step height. That has to come up. It was not poured that low. So we got to lift up the back side, which is somewhat easy when you got a floating stoop, unless you have siding that came in and happened after the settlement. We just cut this out of the way. You can see the brick molding was wrapped and all the way down to the stoop. There's no way that's original, because how is it slanted and lower than a legal step height otherwise? So we're about to do here is what we just did over here. Sitting here for 15 minutes with the oscillating tool like Henry's gonna do. Cut this nasty thin strip off. Just because this one has that nice fold, we got it to go nice and straight. But when it doesn't have that nice fold, they come out and they look like ass. And we gotta try to tuck that metal in and make it look good. It's really not an easy thing. We were here for about 15 minutes just cutting, and now we should be able to pop the back of that stoop up to flow out and to flow this way and to get our legal step height. You gotta watch these things. Brick moldings, which are the long, skinny things on the side, the trim, and the fascia, and even the siding gets in the way constantly. No sider ever gives a crap what the concrete's doing. He just brings it right up to it and moves on down. He'll be over there before he's even thinking about back over this way. .740 Wolfville Road, Brookfield, just pointing out the other cracks here that are pre-existing in the patio. The big one is noted on the contract, the other ones are not. So just pointing out that they're there before we even drill a hole. As you can see, the X's, that's just a line, but there's this crack that runs too and then splits off into two more cracks. Hey guys, quick video here of the patio. It was bid, it says on the contract to go do all the slabs of the patio. Things that were missed on this job was downspout, downspout, sump pump discharge into downspout, radon thing looks fine, telephone, electric box. That needs to be on the contract, and we're not responsible for that. You got to think though, if it was in the concrete when it went down, it probably will be in the concrete and just fine when it goes back up. The difference is we're putting it back up in 30 to 60 minutes. It's slowly settled over, who knows, 10 years. So it's a different kind of stress on something that's already been stressed. And this is the thing that, it doesn't bother me if you miss one or two once in a while, but you gotta note, when you got a sunken patio that's so far down to the side and you don't bid the adjoining sidewalk slabs, look what happens. We added the holes in this one. It should really come back another slab. This is how we're up to like 70 some slabs this year that we've had to do for nothing because it wasn't on the quote. I mean, this is square footage here that should have been on the quote, included on the quote. Instead, you could look at it as like, well, we got the job and we're just gonna do it, but it's still times 70 of those things this year. 2015, we're up around 70 to 80 of these sidewalk slabs or other various slabs that were not on the quote that should have been. It just seems like a waste of time and energy to us, but that's my bitch for right now. All right, one more quick video. We just raised this section right here where it needs to go, and we literally drill through, as a company, we drill through thousands of slabs every summer. We encounter this probably 1 out of every 10 for sure, where the center of the concrete is poured sometimes 3/4 of an inch thick. That's about the depth of my fingernail to my first knuckle there where it's bending, because I can just do this. This is about an inch, inch and a quarter thick in the middle. And then out here on the sides is where the 2x4 was. That's how guys cheat when it comes to concrete quotes. You get what you pay for with concrete. Guys will put the thickness of the concrete all the way up to the edge of the 2x4 or the form so no one can tell. And the center will be 3/4 of an inch to 2 inch or less. And then we come along years later and find out how that quote was so cheap. Say hi to Cole. I made him stop drilling just so you can hear me. This is extreme salt damage on the concrete. I'm gonna get right up in here. This is the surface, and that's just below the surface. You can see all concrete is rocks, sand, and Portland cement, sometimes some fly ash. This is probably a bad mixture of concrete to begin with. It probably had too much water in the mix when they poured it. We can talk more on that later. But what this is deteriorating results of too much salt. Can this ever be fixed? Absolutely not by us. You could try to overcoat this. Only a fool would do it, but you could try it. But I don't want anything to do with ever trying to patch crap like this. The only thing you can try to do with this is seal coat it, just like those pictures I sent you yesterday, that video I sent you yesterday, seal coating that big driveway. You can seal this with concrete sealer. It is not going to help this get better, but it's going to massively help it from getting worse. So we're mudjacking around the corner here, and this gentleman, homeowner, asked me what I think of the foam mudjacking solution. And frankly, my answer is the same I'm telling you now, is I can't believe how many homeowners know about that crap in such a short period of time. This is the area we're going to be lifting. And I told him how the #1 biggest problem with the foam is you have no control. It's a chemical reaction of two materials. You don't have any control. When it starts lifting, it lifts until the reaction is done. With our cement grout pump, you can stop simply by taking your finger off the damn button. I have no idea why there's a clear cage here. But then he tells me that the person that came here and gave him a quote just before us was trying to peddle the foam. And he said he asked them the same thing that I just said is the #1 problem about the overlifting from the reaction. And he said the guy literally told him, well, if it raises too much, we just drive our truck over it. So they're gonna drive their truck down the driveway, onto the yard, and up under the porch? Is that how that's gonna work? on site at 2611. Just showing the preconditions. That side is way high compared to this. Looks like the siding is going to impede bringing that up to the right position, and there is damage on the siding pre-existing to us doing any work. So it looks like at one point it was up to that black line, but that still looks lower than this side. So I mean, when you look at this just visually, it does not look by any chance in hell raising this side is going to flow away from the foundation. You can't put that on the contract if you're not 100% positive that you have the room to raise this without hitting the siding. All right, training video, back patio, whatever number you want to give it. I'm trying to, like I just said to these guys, I'm trying to not use my condescending voice because we have the experience of what the project looks like when it's done, not just what it looks like in its current state. Contract says to lift one slab, being this one. So first things first, let's just say that we could get this done with one slab. It should be noted on there about the cracks. I should probably read that. Blah, 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 blah. Mudjack single slab on back patio and grout large crack through patio slabs. Raised single slab approximately ½ inch at house. So I'm assuming it must be that should be grouted. Yeah. I guess I could see the point. The customer doesn't like that one, but I'll make it to be continued here since we're at 50 seconds. Okay, here's the to be continued part. Contract says one slab. Can't be done in one slab. This is my pet peeve. As you can see, it is sunk down here a little bit, about ½ inch on this one side. It's probably what they're complaining about, that, and it looks like it has negative pitch back towards the house. So what you do to fix that is to raise the slab like this off of this joint. Like as if this was the door hinge, this slab is going to come up straight with that door hinge or cabinet hinge or axle or whatever the hell you want to call it. What do you think it's going to do to that point right there? Guess. That same bump is going to get transferred to right here. So the only way MudTech now can fix that is to raise this slab, which makes perfect sense because it's on the same track. It's on the same hinge. So we're going to have to also raise this slab up because this one came up, which will now be above this one over here. We raise this one up. This is how we get to 50 to 70 slabs in a year that aren't bid. This is doubling the size of the job in square footage. That one wasn't bid, this one was. Maybe it still will be a minimum. I wouldn't have done this for a minimum. Not 2 slabs and fill a crack, and not mentioning anything about the existing cracks in the job. This is like a $550 job now. At least, like, depending on how close you are, a $450. All right, so last few final comments. Patio's up where it needs to be. Slab lifted, as well as the one that was quoted. Really, that slab should have also been done because you can see the gap under the first strip of, if you can call that siding, it's like a pre-siding strip made of cedar. You can see how that's a big gap. I raised it a hair high going this way now because the hacks that poured this, they've got a banana right here, which is very common in the pour. The guys who pour this, they'll stand back here and they'll be troweling it back towards the house, and right where the trowel changes direction, so it actually goes nose up towards the house, then they'll stop, tip it, and bring it back. It leaves a depression right there, which west wind, west rain, is going to go right towards the foundation. So we had to raise that a little bit extra high, including this one to match. But based on the line where it was on the step, it's right back at original. So that's that's where it needs to go for this application. A couple other things I want to point out here. Cole's rolling up the hose. He has to patch 4 holes, 5 holes, whatever, and we could roll. The truck is done, ready to go. But now we got to sit here and fill that crack in, and that's going to take probably 20 to 30 minutes, where the truck could be onto another job in that amount of time. While Cole's prepping to grout crack, I just want to make one other comment about the concrete work I see here that somebody else did. This really is a freaking good job. Like, you see the saw cut that they did up against the road, nice and straight. There's very minimal concrete actually splattered over on the edge. The reason there's no expansion joint there is because this is asphalt. You wouldn't need to do that, but it looks good. It looks straight, and they didn't need to do any forms or asphalt work there because the asphalt was so straight. You can use it as a form. And right over the top of the culvert, where the soils are only this thick versus to the center of the earth, you can see they actually poured the concrete thicker. They used 2 pieces of wood, so that way from here over it bridges the weak spot, which is the culvert, because a lot of times it'll snap right in the middle of the culvert if the slab's there, and they actually smartly put the joint right there, so if it does go down like that and that, it'll be hidden in the joint, which is freaking perfect. That's the way it should be. They really should come back. Actually, it's already starting. Check this out. It's actually already starting there. See that? So they don't need a saw cut, but I was just going to say this same joint is only 1/2 inch to 3/4 thick, same as over there. This is actually starting here too. You can see that right in the joint. A lot of times the thicker it is, the more depth you need, and they use the right stone for base. You're not supposed to use clays of any type. It's supposed to have the ability for any moisture that should actually get under the slab. It's got to have the ability to drain. It doesn't matter if there's moisture under this. It just can't rest on the bottom of the concrete. That's how you get draw up into the concrete from the bottom up, and that's how you get freezing, chipping, popping, separation, cracking problems from the bottom up. Okay, now I'm purposefully being a dick, but now I'm showing you the process. Cole had to take the wheelbarrow down, hand mix a batch of concrete with Speedcrete set in it, so it actually has some kind of strength and setting ability, so we can actually leave here. This is now going on 20 minutes from when I made that last video, and he's got about 2.5 feet done. All this to go. I'm going to be helping here in a second, but the other thing is, in the area that we worked, which was supposed to be this, we added that. Does that mean we go from there and stop here, even though the big crack keeps on going? I don't know. Contract doesn't say. This is the stuff that drives me literally fucking up a tree. Contract says fill crack. Where? From where to where? That crack too? This crack? That crack? I mean, take it for what it is, but this is stuff that it's probably, this might take an hour out of our day for a fucking crack. And what did you get for this crack? 100 bucks? 200? How much are you going to get for this crack? You got to deflect this stuff off to the customer. Let them worry about this shit. Hire somebody else, tell them to get their neighbors, friends, brothers, kids, uncle over here and do it. I don't care. This is not a productive use of our time or yours. And especially when they get the call back and say, oh, my crack, it's got cracks in it now. And all this little smudge stuff on the side, I don't like the way that looks. That's what you're going to get on the phone. Not good. This job is a two-part issue. We had knowledgeable people on the job that could not fix or solve the issue, but it does start with the estimator estimating the project inaccurately. Again, I did not get to see this job before anything was done. The guys doing the work cut this trough along the rocks based on this part here where the concrete does go under the rocks. I gotta think that was the right move. to get the freedom to pull it up. I don't know why in the fuck it came out 3 inches, but I also don't know why in the fuck the estimator didn't add that slab onto the freaking contract. This is your hinge point. And there goes the estimator again, telling me how to use my magic powers to raise 2 slabs up, and that one's gonna miraculously stay where it is, go up with it. I don't know what the plan was. Starts with the estimator, and estimate, and the crew was not experienced enough, which is ridiculous, to make the judgment call on site to add this slab and get the job done. 5 inches of concrete is about to meet its match. This is our new little... Okay, we're at the Mount Zion job, just trying to make sense of this. Somebody's got the spray paint marks down here where there's maybe you're seeing the white. I can't even get the camera that low. Look at the paper. There's no bump here, but then right there is almost a half-inch bump. I don't understand it, why it's not marked. There'll be more videos like this. Yeah, this video will go to Eric and Vince. So we mud jacked this whole sidewalk and the parts of the patio where you see Caleb breaking the holes out. We can usually break open a pre-existing plugged hole with a bar instead of having to re-drill it. Homeowner did not want to do any work out here, and rightly so. It already flows. What a lot of people don't understand is kind of like that song, leg bones connected to hip bone, hip bones connected to the whatever bone. If you had that melody in your head and you just thought how these slabs are connected to each other, these 2 slabs are connected, these 2 slabs are connected, especially this area right here plays into how this area is. It determines how everything's gonna lay and fit. And what the problem here is, homeowner Jeff has way too short of a downspout, and he doesn't want to make it longer because he said the path of people coming out here is something like that, and he doesn't want to trip on it or have people trip on it. But the issue here is the dumbass masons. I'm gonna make a second video. The issue is the dumbass masons that poured this. They usually have some form of bad trowel work, and it's almost always next to a stoop or into a house. A lot of times they'll stand back here, and then they'll use the long poles, and they'll go back and forth and back and forth, and they'll create a low spot right by the house where the trowel has to move. So literally right at the intersection of where Jeff's downspout comes, this part flows towards the house and this part flows away from the house. So now he thinks that's our deal with mud jacking because, well, we're the mud jackers. We raise stuff up. We make everything flow. But what we do is we put things back to original, and we have to match things back to as close as we can get it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to raise this area up here and here and make everything match and go as far as we can get it to make everything. Get a quickie follow-up video. Everything is now as high as I'm going to be able to get it. There is a bump here now that we avoided last time. Starts at nothing and tapers up to a 1/4 inch. So we'll grind that quick. There is a blue chalk line on the side here. You're not going to be able to see on camera, but it is where original was. It's actually right there. You can just kind of sort of see the faint blue. So we know original was there. It's still basically flat or minuscule flow from where it was pitching back. But then obviously you slide this forward just any little bit, and you have tons of flow then. Bubble is obviously heading in the right direction. So that's all we can do, unless the homeowner wants to do all this patio, at least up to the grill, to the stoop, and then not just do some of the sidewalk or 3/4 of the sidewalk like he had originally quoted, where it stops here to go all the way to the end. But like he said, oh, Jim should have known that. And I told him, well, if Jim had that kind of power, we'd be probably gambling in Vegas and winning every time. It's just not every day you get horrible troweling evidence like this. Same sidewalk I just sent you the other video. Right here, this is all still one piece of concrete. Yes, it cracked there instead of the nice joint. Cracks don't always follow the joints, that's rule number 1. But look at how there's a puddle right here. On this side of the piece, it all flows that way. And just sliding it this far, it all flows this way to this lovely puddle right in the middle. So now we're going to try to continue raising this whole section up in front of the stoop to try to trick that puddle into overcoming the hill that was built into it by the idiot concrete guys that don't know how to set forms, and try to trick it to come all the way down here so we can actually get an A-OK from the customer and get paid. This is the kind of stuff we run into just about daily. Here's one I'm not exactly happy with how the joint sealing is bid. You guys have heard me bitch about joint sealing quite a bit. This is a Jim job, and for lack of better words, Jim likes to forget that joint sealing on hills does not work very well. So maybe that doesn't look like a hill to you, but when I put the camera down, I don't know, that's still not even looking like a hill. I should go over there on the side of the ditch and aim back. What happens is when you put the very fluid joint sealant in the cracks, it just runs downhill and looks like shit. I don't know what that stuff is growing over the culvert there. Maybe that helps a little bit. That's a significant hill for something that's like syrup to run down. I don't think the camera's still even doing it justice. Maybe that's a better description. You can see if I made it straight, it'd be like that. Versus that's a straight camera. That's too steep for joint sealing. All right, so we're in West Bend, so all things considered, mud jacking crew just did real good on this front sidewalk, tipping it out so the water sheds, well, minus the shit sitting there, but we're not going to sit here and raise up this whole entire sidewalk to be higher than the grass, unless that's what you meant, but that's not what contract's telling me. But here's what I want you to see is when you put these things on here for grinding, because now lifting it up to go out to the left side here, you raise up the height of the sidewalk above the height of the asphalt. Ideally, you'd want to have Steve come here and do an infrared patch or a cutout or something here. But you got, it's an easy shot for the truck, but you got to kind of consider we're in West Bend. It's towards the end of the season. Steve's busy as hell, but this is about as much grinding as I want to see have happen on any given slab. It tapers from about flush to a good solid 2.25 inches. Maybe that's hard to see how deep that is, but that's a lot of grinding. That's going to make a huge mess over all this stuff here. Camper trailer, car, neighbors that aren't even part of this job. It's going to make a big mess. You can't just use grinding as like a fallback. All right, this is the project on Good Hope. Just the second we got here, it was apparent this was just some really not well thought out construction that was done originally. They've got they're down in a hole. They come down to the driveway, all slopes down, and then they have just this little bit of grade here and a tiny swale right there to try to prevent all this water that's going to concentrate on the driveway and just run right at the damn house. And they think just this little slope is going to do it. The garage floor is too low. They have plenty of space over there that this could have been raised with the step up. That almost looks like an illegal step height to me. Looks taller than 8. But you have minimal flow this way. You have hardly any flow this way, and you got this stupid little swale right here. Original construction was very, very poor from the beginning. Originally, or at one time, this slab may have been up to here, but then you are literally going to be above the garage floor by a huge, significant margin. Here's one that just needs to be seen to be believed. There's 2 slabs in front of the door and 2 sidewalk slabs. So in real life, it's this, 2 slabs that need to get lifted up, and then the 2 sidewalk slabs. This is the part I cannot get through to people. So, okay, this gets raised up. It'll be a slight angle, kind of like this. You can see this might match up a little since it's a 1/4 inch high. It's not the same height as this because the corresponding angle is not going to just gently glide into that. So these 2 slabs get marked for mud jacking. Yeah, how? How am I going to do that? You got a straight joint here, meaning these 2 slabs are only going to come up straight off of this straight joint. Straight lift, straight joint. How's that going to match the angle that those 2 slabs are now going to be at? What you'd have to do is play with these slabs over here as well. But look at the obstacles we got now. We have a damn drinking fountain bolted to the slab and a flagpole. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Nothing. I would never ever want to even think about messing with water and a flagpole within the same piece of concrete. Remember, this is one piece. Just because there's a line there that this all came out of the same truck. Hold on, I'm making a video. We void filled underneath this gigantic shed, inside and out, in 2014. It appears there's a little bit of erosion from most likely somewhat to do with the rain that assuredly gets beat down on that side and peppers that soil with a lot of water. We were told that there's a woodchuck hole now near our work that we did last year. I was just told by the owner that it's underneath this sod. We just rolled everything back. There's no visible hole. As every day we're on a tight schedule, I have to give this like 10 more minutes of possible thought, and then we have to roll to the next job. We just pulled back every piece. There's nothing there. And we filled everything that was a hole in 2014. I don't even understand how this is our deal if now the holes over here, over there, we're not coming back to warrant the entire mound from future animal intrusion. A little bit ridiculous. It's supposed to be one here and one there, but there's nothing here. I'm gonna try to talk through this one. This is just fucking so frustrating. We show up, job sheet shows to do this corner because they've got this bump around here. It's always less on camera. They've got that bump. They want that bump to go away. This side's not even as bad as this side. This side is much worse right here. The contract is bid for just this strip, and I'm on this side because it wraps around the corner, and there's another one of these things on the other side, same exact shit. I've said it probably 3 dozen times in the past 5 years. When all the fucking slabs are lined up, none of these joints are out of place, yet you have a bump where it used to be. Something's wrong. Something sunk. All of them sunk. All of these slabs sunk towards the fucking building. I've said this so many times. Keep walking till you see where it sunk to. What do we have here? All the way down on the other freaking end, you can see this is sunk. Look at the concrete where it used to be, sunk. Look at the screw here, where this expansion joint used to be screwed up there. You can even see the line. This whole fucker sunk. How on freaking earth are we gonna magically fucking pop up just 2 of those slabs to get that little trip hazard out by that fucking door? I'm so fucking sick of this shit. Not one thing is said about gutter, and whatever that vent is. Not one thing is said about a disclaimer on the contract. I'm so fucking sick of this. It's one fucking piece. Do you see it now? Pick it all the fuck up. You can't just start in the middle and go, "Ugh." Not gonna work. Quick video of the, I don't know what it is, the 8738 residence before the drills even started. There's cracks in this concrete that are not noted on a job sheet, but clearly are present in this old concrete, and this section's really bad. All right, reiterating mud jacking sequence. Number 1 and 2, fight for number 1 spot is trip hazards and water flow. Number 3 is appearance. Why were these slabs not on the quote when it would have made our work look that much better? Why is it like just a center being bid for 10 slabs? And then stop and have grinding on both ends? Why? These especially. I already added 2 more here and did not add anything up that way, but I'm pretty certain a customer like this should be able to take care of the rest of the issues with the sidewalk here. Now I have to make this retarded bump to match what's going on in this one spot to get the section we did work on and are working on to somehow magically line up with what we're not working on that has the same freaking problem. I don't understand why this was not bid to go from bushes or fire hydrant all the way down, which would have been absolutely proper. All right, Team Mud Tech is down there fixing the foundation that's failed, crumbling block, as a most likely result of extra water entering the foundation area has caused some major step cracking. So we're down there clearly repairing that section of this store. You can see all the gutters here. And what I'm going to show you here is this one, where there's so many things to be said for how wrong this is and what needs to happen. As you can see, the elbow, which probably had a little bit of a downspout like those, has most likely been knocked off by the snowplow, and now it's run over. And now the water is literally just pouring out of the roof because we have our snow's melting here. It's 41 degrees right now, and the water is just literally pouring down, and I'm sure some of it's making its way under this pavement to the ditch along the tracks here, but a lot of it's going to be right alongside the foundation. And next week, instead of being 41 degrees, we're going to be 7 degrees as predicted. So what do you think this water is going to do along the foundation wall as far as pressure goes? So we need to educate people on the importance of proper drainage from pavement and gutter issues away from the foundation as best as possible, and they won't have as big of problems later with their foundations. Obviously, you can't be on top of every situation, and when there's a situation that calls for a repair contractor, we're here for you to help. But this can certainly be avoided by your own ingenuity with just probably about $10 in parts and maybe a little flag or something so the snowplow doesn't knock it off. As you can see, the crack is basically completely dry all the way up, but then just pouring away.